These are my very first thoughts and reaction to watching Stranger Things 5 Volume 1. What's going on, guys? It's Ty the TV Guy, back with my first video after the release of Stranger Things 5 Volume 1, and I'm excited to say that I absolutely loved it. It was just spectacular and maybe the best viewing experience I've had with the show thus far in terms of just pure joy and excitement and being in the moment watching it. It was absolutely incredible, guys, and if you haven't watched it yet, I recommend getting to that, and I'm going to be completely transparent here. I want everybody to know, big spoiler warning for this video. I'm going to be talking about all the marquee moments, the big reveals of this first volume, so to speak. So if you have not seen Volume 1, though I appreciate the support and being here with me, maybe, save or bookmark this video for a later time and come back to it, because I do not want to spoil anything to any big Stranger Things fans out there. The other thing I really want to make clear before getting into the thick of it is that these are my first thoughts and my first reaction. I literally just watched it. I'm still jittery from it, really. It was so exciting for me because if you know me from this channel, I've just looked forward to this moment for so long, and so it was awesome seeing it. But I'm going to try to make my thoughts well-formed, but I will have a more formal Season 5 Volume 1 video coming out a few days from now once I get to rewatch, gather my thoughts, maybe even take a few notes. But for now, this is kind of like an unorganized thought session for me, essentially. But alrighty, now that the long intro is done, I'm going to get right into the big reveals here. So last warning for the spoilers here. They're coming in a couple seconds. Alrighty, the first one in the final episode, episode 4, which was the last of Volume 1, is that Collie is alive and well. Well, maybe not well. She's alive, and she has been being used by the military to combat Eleven's powers. And now Eleven and Hopper have broken into the little fortress they had her imprisoned in that they didn't want her to find. And they've gotten to her. Her and Eleven kind of had their moment, looked at each other. You saw a slight smile come across Collie's face, if I recall correctly. And this is a huge moment for Stranger Things and the ending of the show. I'm not going to lie. I mean, this is maybe the biggest reveal we could have because it was, to me, a lot less certain to happen than the other reveal that we got, which was big in itself, and I'm going to talk about in a minute. If you've seen this, episode 4, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But this is crazy for multiple reasons. Not only is it just insane within the storyline and something that, to be honest, in the moment, I really wasn't expecting. I really didn't think Vecna was in there. I didn't think Eleven's theory on that was right. I don't think Vecna would be controlled by the military. That didn't make sense to me, really. But I wasn't sure what they were going to be led into. I thought it was just going to be other, equipment that was the source of, dampening Eleven's powers, essentially. But it was Collie hooked up to this machine, and the way they shot it was beautiful too. Eleven walked in and her body covered Collie, so you couldn't see her at first, and then it's like a slow reveal. It was an awesome scene, guys. You can ask the people I watched this, I literally jumped up out of my chair. Wow, it was incredible from a shock value standpoint, from bringing this long storyline where Eleven and Hopper have been off on their own this entire half of the season, essentially. And it's like, okay, this has to wrap up soon. I mean, they're going to rejoin the group at some point, right? And so it looks like they might head back with Collie now. I mean, I would imagine she's going to join and help in the fight. Now, before I move on to the next topic, of course, part of the reason this is such a big reveal for the ending of the show as well is that this has been a controversial character, plot line, etc. in the Stranger Things fan base for so long. And so I kind of tip my cap to the Duffer Brothers for taking such a risk. Now, fans can argue over whether they like it or not. Me, I'm probably on the fence a little bit. I could see arguments both ways, and obviously it depends how she's used the rest of the season. I mean, I'd imagine, like I said, she's going to join forces with Eleven and Will. Is it going to be more complex than that? Is it going to be harder to disconnect her from whatever's going on psychically? I don't know. But if she does join forces with our crew, there's definitely conversations to be had. Does it feel cheap in a way? Does it feel earned for her character to be able to help us take down Vecna? Just our group randomly comes upon her. I do think the way that this went down was better than if Eleven just went to visit her or got in her mind and was like, Collie, we need you or something. And then Collie just comes straight back to the group. This is them freeing her from a prison she's in and being controlled by the government. And so I think that's a cool twist on it and an awesome way, to be honest, to get her back in the story. So I like it personally, but I can see this being controversial and potentially, not all liked all the way around with the Stranger Things fan base, just because of how unpopular that Lost Sister episode is, season 2, episode 7. It's like the infamous episode of the show. Once again, I'm not as low on it as some people, so maybe that's why this doesn't bother me so much. But I know a lot of people it does. I know a couple content creators, I watch their content, similar to the stuff I make, and they were not in favor of Collie coming back for that reason. They didn't like her episode that she had. They didn't think it made sense to bring her back at all within this, and I see to a degree, and I could see how it could be cheap, but I do think the way they did it was creative, and it was a lot better than them just calling up Collie and being like, yo, we need you. She comes back and helps save the day. To me, this adds a wrinkle to it, but I don't know that I'm fully on board, but the reveal was just so awesome. The way that, Hopper, like I said, Hopper and Eleven's storyline built into it. The military trying to hide this, and then she's in that room. I never expected it. I don't know why. It didn't clock to me. I was not thinking of that. And then you get the other big reveal in episode 4, which is Will. Will Byers has powers. It's official. I think we all knew it was coming to a certain degree just based on the route his character was going. The fact that it would be really hard for Eleven to win this fight all alone in Season 5. And also, Episode 4 was named The Sorcerer. Will's nickname or name in D&D has always been Will the Wise. You figured that, that correlating with magic, that it would have something to do with Will having powers moving forward. But I'm going to be honest, I didn't think it would be to this degree, and surprisingly, I'm actually a little more skeptical of this reveal than of the Collie one. I thought the Collie one was awesome, and don't get it twisted. I think this Will reveal is also epic. I mean, just an epic cinematic moment. I mean, multiple of his friends and his mom in danger, Robin, Lucas, Mike. The Demogorgon's about to hit all of them, and then he just stops them. His eyes turn like blue, like he's some type of anime character or something. I mean, it looked insane. And then he snaps their arms like Vecna, and his nose bleeds like 11. It seems like his powers here are kind of a blend of the both, and I'm interested to maybe get a little more explanation on that, maybe dive deeper into the root of it all. I mean, I know as he's like kind of summoning the power there in that moment, they flash back to what Robin told him earlier in the episode about being his truest self and accepting himself, and it will free him. I thought that was going to be in the context of him, in his, apparent liking of Mike and having feelings for him. I thought it was going to apply in that situation. I didn't think it was going to come to fruition in terms of his powers, but apparently it did. And then they also showed those flashbacks, which were really cool. An interesting choice to show those flashbacks with, different characters. I mean, obviously they have to. They didn't film that way back in the day with the actual actors we know. So, him channeling what Robin said and those memories to reach this moment, I thought it was emotionally impactful and created an epic moment, of course, just with the visuals and that culmination of feelings leading up to it. But I still feel like we need a little more of an explanation as to like why Will has these powers, and if he does, and if Vecna knows, which I would assume Vecna knows, Vecna had him in his grasp just before this, why would Vecna let Will survive and take down his fellow monsters if he knows Will has these powers, which, once again, I'm assuming he does. I mean, he just walked into the Upside Down 5 seconds ago, and he doesn't know Will has the powers, so that's a part I'm a little shaky on. Like I said, guys, I'm not, I haven't studied this to a high level. Maybe I'm not fully comprehending everything going on. I just, I feel like I need a little more explanation in terms of what Vecna's thinking, why he would let Will to his own devices and to carry out his powers like this, because I would assume he knows what Will's capable of. I mean, he gave this to Will in a way, I'm assuming, and so there's a lot of confusing factors to it, in my opinion, but overall, I'm happy with how the scene culminated and the result of it. I didn't think Will would have powers to this degree, and I'm not the biggest fan if he's going to be more powerful than 11. I don't love that. And so we'll have to see how it progresses and the explanations given in the next few episodes before the finale and what is sure to be the ultimate fight. Yeah, there's a couple elements of the Will having powers thing that I'm iffy on, to be honest with you. But overall, loved the scene and the reveal, and it was a breathtaking thing to watch. So I'm sorry, guys, I kind of just spent like 10 minutes on just those two topics, but that's the nature of a first thoughts and reaction video here. I'm just kind of leaking everything I have out. I'm putting it all out there. So those were the two biggest moments of the season, I think. or of the first volume, undisputably. Looking outside of that, my impressions on this first volume, just incredible. I mean, I'm someone who loves this show so much that my expectations are already sky high, and I think it may have surpassed my expectations. I honestly can't believe it. This really delivered for me like no other season has in its first half so far, I think, and I truly mean that. I think this is the best 4 or 5 episode start, depending on how long the seasons have been, just like the first half of a season. I think it's the best we've had. And I know the stakes are the highest, and maybe it's easiest to meet that, but regardless, I think it's the best first half of a season we've ever gotten. And I am reacting in the moment here. I'm really excited about it. I know that's a bold statement. I'll return to that in a couple months maybe and see if I feel the same way, but I am so pleased with just how intriguing so many elements of the plot here are. I'm looking for answers. I'm sure we'll get them in the latter half more so. So far we've been kind of creating more questions in my opinion, but that's okay. I love the mystery and all the crap that's going down. It's really epic, guys. I mean, I'm just so satisfied with this so far. And I almost forgot the other biggest reveal, the third and the three-headed monster of huge reveals, was Max at the end of episode 3. The first time we see her. Now, of course, it's not her physical body waking up in the hospital. She's still in that coma. We are in her mind, essentially. Well, kind of her in Vecna's mind, in memory, she describes it. She says she's in a memory of, in the midst of 1,000 memories or something like that. And she's hiding out in this cave area where Henry refuses to go into to chase after her and take her and capture her and whatever he would choose to do to her at that point, kill her off for good or use her for something. He will not go into this cave, so she's created a sanctuary out of it. She's chosen to live with the cards she's been dealt for now because she doesn't know what else to do. But now that little Holly Wheeler has come to join her, she sees a way out. She has cooked up a plan, and that is going to take place in the, most likely, the Escape from Camazotz episode in Volume 2. And so I couldn't be more thrilled for that one. That's something I'm really anticipating and hoping she makes it out, of course, so that she can wake up in the hospital and have that reunion with Lucas and the gang. So to speak more broadly about some things here as part of my first reaction, I think the acting overall is just A+ this season. I mean, our characters are really on top of it. For Noah Schnapp, I am really impressed so far. To me, this is his best performance in the show so far. We'll see how the latter half of the season goes, but I know season 2, he was spectacular. That's my favorite season of his. I think he's been a little lackluster in seasons 3 and 4, and I knew he was going to pick it up because he had to, because of how central he was going to be here for this final season. And he's been so good. But the thing about it is, it's not just the physical acting moments that to me have always been his strength, which he has done great with, the physical acting with the powers and the possession. I think he's done awesome with that. But I think even the interpersonal moments have just been so much better and more meaningful for him this season. A lot of those coming with Robin. And newsflash, we have a new great Stranger Things duo. That is Will and Robin. And of course, these two have a natural connection in a way, a natural thing that links them, and that it appears they're both gay or lesbian. Robin has a girlfriend, so it's readily apparent. Will, it's also been made pretty apparent that he is gay and likes Mike. And so they have that to naturally bond them. So I like the conversations they have relating to that, but it's not too overbearing, and there's other elements to their relationship as well, and they're solving mysteries together, and it's just like a really well-rounded duo right now that's uncovering mysteries, having emotional conversations, helping each other out, both in their personal lives and with the supernatural stuff. I mean, this is a strong duo that got a lot of screen time in these first 4 episodes. Robin was more prominent than I expected her to be, especially based on the trailers and stuff. We didn't get too much of her, but wow, she's been awesome, and that duo has been spectacular. I'm blown away by that. Sadie Sink was only in, obviously, the last moment of episode 3 and episode 4 for a decent bit, talking to Holly in that cave. But Sadie Sink is just an amazing actress, guys. I mean, she is phenomenal. Her performance and her delivery of lines is just so moving to me. And I think she is the best actor on the show right now. Really impressed with her. Honestly, just really impressed with so many of them. I think they're in these really weighty moments just giving such moving performances. I don't know how else to describe it right now. I think Finn Wolfhard as Mike, delivering incredibly. I think other actors, David Harbour as Hopper is killing it as always. Oh my, it broke my heart when he said, "I love you, Jane," as he was walking away, and we thought he might make that sacrifice play. Now, did I think that was going to happen at the end of Volume 1, kill off one of the most beloved characters? No, but still, nevertheless, it took my breath away when he was like, "I'm doing this. I love you. Bye." It was gut-wrenching, and then we find out that it's 8 back there. Oh my goodness, there's so much that happened here. As for 11, I've liked her, has had some pretty solid moments with Hopper interpersonally. I liked some of their conversations and stuff. Obviously, her powers haven't played too big of a factor so far just because they were being suppressed for so long with that mechanism they had set up through 8/Collie. And so that was kind of suppressing her and making her less powered for a while, which obviously is one of the most intriguing parts of her character, being able to use her powers. But she did have a couple epic uses already, including when she just like snapped that guy's neck on command in a half second. That was kind of crazy. But otherwise, I'll admit, I'm looking for a little more from 11. I'm looking for some better moments. She's really only been with Hopper, which I love that duo, don't get me wrong, but I'm still looking for more stuff with her and Mike, with her and the other group members, and I think they'll get reunited back in Volume 2 and 3 and make that happen. And so not too worried about that, but I didn't get my favorite stuff from 11. I didn't get those moments with Mike and with the other, party members. And I do, with Hopper's one of my favorite things as well. But I also didn't get a lot of like her great power uses. And so I'm interested to see how Max is going to come back and play into things once she, I think, inevitably wakes up from this coma after escaping from Camazotz, so to speak. And then Collie, and now Will has powers. Is Will going to actually be more powerful than 11? Is that really going to be true? I'm not the biggest fan of that, like I mentioned earlier in this. I just think 11 has been the one with superpowers the whole show. We have such a background as to why she has them, as to what she had to go through to train them, to get them back in Season 4, and now she's not even the most powerful. Don't love that. But we'll see how Will's powers progress and if he actually has this much control over them all the time now. Speaking about other characters, because I feel like I've only talked about like half of them, and I'll do a character ranking list and I'll go back through and break down each of these episodes individually to get more focused on specific topics. Like I said, this is just the reaction video. But kind of the group that we ended up getting with Nancy, Steve, Jonathan, and Dustin, I have mixed feelings about it, to be honest with you. As far as the show goes, like, I think it's good, but I don't love what's going on between Steve and Dustin. Now, I understand Dustin's feelings right now. He might be feeling a little betrayed by the rest of the group and that his feelings are being ignored. He's trying to be the one that helps Eddie's name live on and helps what he created, the Hellfire Club, live on. He doesn't want to just move on and say, well, Eddie died, but, it's more important that we do what's on topic right now, which I see where the others are coming from, but I also see where Dustin is coming from. It's like if he doesn't keep his spirit alive, nobody will. And so I understand how it could be hard to deal with that grief for Dustin. Now, he's been, the portrayal of the character is quite grim. I mean, Dustin's been pretty much a jerk here to everyone he's been around, and they've given it back to him, which has kind of perpetuated it, made it even worse. So, don't love that. Obviously, Dustin has been all the years just one of the most lovable and the most wholesome character on the show. And so it's weird to see him like this. I don't think the performance is bad or anything. I think it's good. There were some, cool moments, but I would like to see the tables turn sooner rather than later in Volume 2. Honestly, in episodes 3 and 4, I was already rooting for Steve and Dustin are going to have a conversation here. Dustin's going to be like, I'm sorry, I'm just on edge and nobody cares about Eddie. And Steve's going to understand and he's going to give him a hug. They're going to cry it out a little bit maybe, and then they're going to be buddies on this mission. But they never got to that point. They're still bickering and mad at each other, and Steve's saying really rude things to Dustin. Dustin's really mouthing off to Steve. So I love that duo. It's been one of the most important and just lovable duos in the show, and each character themselves is the most lovable and wholesome character in the show, essentially. And arguably in this first volume, they're both in the worst moods and kind of being the biggest jerks, and it's kind of weird to see them in that role after what we've seen the last 3+ seasons for them, especially Dustin. So I'm hoping that turns around. I appreciate the character arc for Dustin. I just want to see him be him a little more, since these are our last moments with him, And then Steve, I realize Dustin is making him mad, and he's probably being protective of Dustin, and he's disappointed to see Dustin making some of the decisions he is, which makes him mad, kind of like Hopper gets mad at Elle, not because he hates her, obviously. He loves her so much that when she does something dangerous or does something that he doesn't recommend, it's like, why won't you just listen to me? I know better. And so I think Steve kind of has that dynamic with Dustin as well, feels responsible for him largely in a way. So I think that's kind of why Steve's being so heavy with it. But we'll have to see how that progresses. I hope they can get back to being buddy-buddy here soon enough, because I'm done with the whole, no, we're not talking to each other thing. Like, that was getting on my nerves near the end, I'll admit that. And the Jonathan-Steve thing is just a little silly for me, I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm surprised that's being focused on at this point. I mean, I knew the love triangle would be relevant. Obviously, it appears like Jonathan is planning on proposing. He has a ring. I don't really agree with Murray that this is the appropriate time to do that, but hey, maybe now or never, given how things are trending for the group, and, they might suffer losses here. But it's interesting, I guess, but, them doing, like, these competitions and stuff and getting in the arguments right after Nancy's family, like, almost all of them died, seems kind of, like, insensitive and just, like, a weird conversation to take place at that point, given everything that's going on. So I don't mind some personal moments and some humor here and there where it fits. I didn't really think it fit in that scene where they were in the van arguing about Nancy, and didn't really agree with either of them. I thought they were both just being, like, rude and selfish and incorrect. So yeah, don't love where those characters in that group as a whole is at, honestly. My favorite one within that group right now is Nancy. She's kind of just being typical Nancy, determined, eyes on the prize. I really liked the first couple episodes when she was with Mike, actually. I loved that we got some sibling action. They got to visit their mother. He cooked up a plan with her in the hospital. It was pretty funny when he did that fake limp as well. So I'm just thinking of some of my favorite character moments here, but that's something that stood out to me. So I have, like, Nancy. The other three dudes she's been with, though, I don't know. I'm not feeling that group as much. I get what they're doing once again with Dustin and the Steve dynamic. Not so much with the Jonathan Steve. I've kind of had enough of that, so we'll see what happens in Volume 2. And then I haven't talked about the Sinclairs really yet. I love Lucas so far this season. I think he has, like, a new confidence to him, and kind of like Caleb McLaughlin, described in his interviews before the season, is kind of in this protector mode, and I really like him in that. I just think, like, he hasn't been quite as involved, and I know he's never been, the main character. Like, Mike always gets more screen time than him, I understand that, but I don't know. I feel like they could have given him a little more to do in this first volume. That being said, when he was on screen, I enjoyed him as always. And that's why I think he's always struggled to break through as, like, one of my very favorite characters, because he just doesn't get quite as much to chew on as the others. And so I know there's so many here, and Mike has always been that central kid, but I do wish there was a little more for Lucas at times. But I thought he had some of the best comedic moments, and there's definitely less comedy in Season 5 than any other season, but it's definitely made up for with all the action and heart-wrenching stuff that's going on. I mean, I'm just on the edge of my seat with a high pulse the whole time. And then we didn't get an Erica appearance until episode 3, and she started helping with the Turnbow family plan. Thought that was a great way to include her, so I've enjoyed her role thus far. We got a little sneak peek of Mr. Clark. I'm not sure if that's all we're going to see of him, but it was cool. I liked it. And man, I'm going to get to my closing thoughts here, though. I think the plot and the action elements of this season have been absolutely phenomenal. Arguably 10 out of 10. I really don't have that many complaints. The one thing I'm looking for more of that I've always loved in Stranger Things is more good friendship and interpersonal moments. I feel like all of our characters are really on edge right now and kind of all in a bad mood, and understandably so. Nancy's and Mike's family just got torn to shreds and their little sister's missing. Honestly, Mike's, like, not really being that mean, and neither is Nancy. Like, it's more like Dustin, Jonathan, Steve. Just seems like a plethora of characters that are just a little grumpy. Even Hopper early on was kind of being, a little mean to Eleven and stuff. But I realize it's how he is. It's coming from a place of love, and he softened up at times for sure. And we got so many great moments. But I'm looking for more of those. To me, most of the great moments we got, honestly, were between an unlikely duo. If you would have told me this a year or two ago, I'd be like, really? But Will and Robin, I mean, they got so many good personal moments where I feel like it's, they got to spread the wealth with that a little more in Volume 2. It's lacking in other areas. We got a couple with, Hopper and Eleven. Hopper and Joyce had a good one before he left for the Upside Down. We've gotten other little good moments here and there, but I'm looking for more of those heartwarming moments between our characters that love each other so much deep down, even though they're all in a little bit of a tizzy right now, I think. And obviously, it's stressful circumstances and stressful times for them. So I get it. but I still want to see it before the show ends. So I'm going to leave it there. This was supposed to be a thoughts and reactions video. It's going to be like 25 minutes long probably, but it's okay. So yeah, overall, I have loved this first volume. In my official Volume 1 review, I will give this an actual score out of 10. Hint, it's going to be really high because I love this show, and like I said, this was just more spectacular than I could have ever imagined. But I didn't think everything was perfect or like nothing needs further explanation, because it certainly does. And I think that, you know, the Duffer Brothers promised that we know so much more about the Upside Down and more elements of the show going into it. And I feel like unless I'm dense and haven't processed a lot of things fully yet, I didn't get many answers like that at all. I just got a lot more questions, which is fine. I know we're only halfway through, but definitely going to be looking forward to that in the second volume. But yeah, guys, incredible first volume. It was awesome to watch, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay on the lookout for my episode-by-episode reviews and then my Volume 1 review as well. That'll be coming in the next few days. I'll also be doing character rankings, survivability tier lists based on the first volume, moment, and character breakdowns from this first volume, and so much more. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're looking forward to that. But otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.